It's lovely to see you all.
It's lovely to have you here, Julia. Thank you so much. So Julia, again, like many of the speakers, is an ex-Senko, aren't you?
I am.
Yes.
You're not an ex-Senko. You're always a Senko.
That's
through
true.
And through. Like
That's
a stick
true.
of rock written
That's
through
true.
you.
That's true. And so Julia is the head of education for Scanning Pens. And for those of you who don't know, Succeed with Dyslexia is the charitable arm of Scanning Pens. So so that's why we've all been doing the red. And you've got a lovely tidy backdrop as well, which is
I tidied up fast, Katrina.
Yes, yeah. Lovely. Right, well, so over to you, Julia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I'll share my screen and hopefully I'll share the right one. Can you see that okay?
I can. Lovely.
Fabulous. Okay, so I'm going to break down some barriers to using assistive technology for you today, and we're going to look at how we can move learners towards independence, because that's what we want ultimately. We don't want people reliant on humans. We want them feeling really confident and independent. And if we know we can support and foster independence in school, we know that that will go through into college and then through and into the workplace. So it's a long journey, but it's got to start in early years, particularly with the implementation of assistive technology. Getting it right at an early phase is very important, but you still can use lots of the strategies I'm going to be sharing with you to help learners of all ages to feel that confidence. Okay. Let me see if I can forward this along. There we go. So I was thinking about the barriers, and I was actually thinking, actually, I'm the barrier sometimes, particularly with assistive technology, and particularly when it's something really tricky and I don't understand it, and I'm responsible for trying to help somebody else with it. So I'm always thinking, how do I optimize access to learning? How do I help my learners to enjoy reading? Because we know that's the doorway to exploring all sorts of fabulous content. If we can get reading and allow people to get through the reading door, they can pretty well be successful in anything, I believe. And I know that with my students that I taught, many of them came to me with real self-esteem and self-confidence difficulties. They'd already felt that they were failing. And some of those children I taught were as young as 5, already starting to feel that they were failing. So this is what we want to do. We want to give everybody as much access as we can, but we need to think about our approach, and our attitude is linked to the outcomes of the people that we work with. I believe that strongly. If I am not confident or I don't want to use something, I'm not going to be sharing that as well as I could be. If my preconceptions are getting in the way, or I don't have enough knowledge about something, it can get in the way. So I'll give you an example about what I mean. Now, as you know, I work for Scanning Pens. I wear a broader hat. I'm an ambassador for Succeed with Dyslexia, but I'll probably draw upon some Scanning Pens examples. So one of the conversations that I had with the teacher was about using Scanning Pens, which is a text-to-speech device that enables the reading to be done. And the teacher said, that's cheating. How's that student ever going to learn to read if you just put the pen in their hand and the pen does the reading? And I thought, gosh, that's such a strong preconception. It might be the best support in the world for that student. It might be the doorway into really enjoying books, and then that enjoyment might inspire them to go on to do more learning, more reading around. But because the teacher felt that this was cheating, because it didn't get to grips with the nuts and bolts of learning at that very basic level how to read, she felt that the tool wasn't of value. And so that's what I mean by preconceptions, your knowledge. And it's worth always just taking a little bit of a step back and thinking, well, let's just see if it works. Let's go on a journey with this young person. How you communicate about a technology is also potentially a barrier. I'm going to give you another Scanning Pens example. If in a classroom a teacher said, right, get your reader pen out, Simon, because you need some support with your reading for this task, I think I would be not taking out my reader pen and feeling very, very resentful that someone had spotlighted that I needed reading support. What I want is to feel normal in that classroom and not spotlighted. So it's possible to think about the language that you use and perhaps say, oh, Simon, take out your white pen. Could be a job for the white pen today. Now, you can use this idea across other sorts of technology, just to be mindful that as you are giving somebody the support linked to the tool, that you don't highlight the difficulty that that person has, because that can affect the self-esteem of that person. Okay, so looking at this slide here, I want you to think, are you confident to use and share your thoughts about any of these tools? And I'm hoping that you're looking at them all going, oh, yes, put your glasses on. I've got my glasses on. That's it. That's a great assistive technology. I need that. Everybody put those on. You'd feel confident about suggesting that they use that. Possibly the same with a Tangle toy. Possibly the same with something that helped a young person to identify where on the page they were reading, and possibly with a coloured overlay. You might feel confident to explore and talk about any of those things, and a magnifier. So your level of confidence as you're sharing these ideas about these assistive technology tools, and they are assistive, you're going to be transmitting, is that the right word? Yeah, communicating a lot of positivity. We all use these things. It's fine to use them. I think probably in my heart, I would love every classroom to have a toolbox full of all of these pieces of equipment, and for the teacher to be saying, oh, let's get the toolbox open today. We can do this. Anybody can use anything in the toolbox, from a real simple reading line or a thumb page holder, all the way across to, there's some information on the audio book if you want to take that out and choose to use that as your intro. You might want to pick up a reader pen, or you might say, and the computer in the room has got the dictation device on it. We might want to use that today. I'm hoping and would love for every teacher to be able to confidently adopt this toolbox approach as their normal way of teaching, so that in every classroom you ever went into, you would feel confident to use what you need. The barriers are the ones that we bring with us. Okay, and some of us are anxious technology adopters. And I think this was me when I was a teacher. I remember being given a Promethean board and told, you can use this for your teaching now, and having a moment where I thought, I've had no training. I don't know what a Promethean board does. I know it does lots of super whizzy things, but I don't know any of those, and I haven't got time. And I felt very overwhelmed that I was going to have to change my approach to use this tool. So I was an anxious technology user, and what I had to do was have those little drip feed conversations with my colleagues who could just help me say, oh, okay, just start with this. You can use the drawing tool. You can use it to highlight things on the screen. And so every other day I would say, just tell me one other thing that I can do with this as I'm using it in my teaching. And I just had to go slow, but get there in my own speed. And that was okay. You might be on the other end of this spectrum, an enthusiastic early adopter. And if you are, you may have lots of different sorts of tech. You might want to share everything. You might want to get everybody to get the bits and pieces out that you have and be super excited about them. There is a problem with being an enthusiastic adopter, and that can be that the person in front of you cannot cope with your enthusiasm and pace of excitement, and they need just to go at a different speed as they are adopting and learning a new technology. So I think what we need to do is everyone go together. If we can, let's go together. There's a really fantastic group of people in Canada in Halton District, and they are called the 8 Tech Dudes. They're the students in the classroom. Stacey Faulkner's the teacher, and what she does is she gets her young people to be really involved in all of the technologies, different technologies that she introduces that help support them with their learning all across the curriculum. And they engage with sharing this. So you can go to Twitter and check out the 8 Tech Dudes and find out what they are learning by picking up different assistive technologies to support them. And they are technology advocates because they've been taken on a journey. And things that they have done have been things like, well, it might have started with a tech club or a lunch and learn session. So we're looking at a low pressure but a high support environment for the introduction of a new assistive technology. And I think this is great for breaking down the barriers. You need to have that high level of support and also make it fun. So unboxing something, recording a YouTube video, exploring it together, sharing it. In the classroom, you could have a top tip. If you were a form tutor, you could have a top tip day on the best mobile phone app that you found that does something really helpful. Or you could have a shortcuts day in your week where you talk about the technology that you've used or anyone has used to help you do things faster. Now, our young people often quite good at finding these technologies, these apps, these bits and pieces. You can ask them to research things as well. And this is the go together approach. This is particularly helpful if you are somebody who is a bit anxious like I was with the Promethean board, because you can all go on the journey together and you can be part of the discovery alongside them. So that's a really great way forward. Being curious is the best thing ever. Just keep being curious, keep asking questions. And if that is your strategy for how you work, no one will ever know that you didn't know, because you are just being you, asking questions and being curious. I want to talk for a sec about cognitive overload, and we have touched on this earlier on today. It's been called slightly different things, but I'm going to call it cognitive overload. And this is the thing, particularly for our dyslexic learners, that we need to think about. And that's why we need to ensure that we pace and space when we're adopting something new, and we revisit and we review. So how do we avoid cognitive overload? Okay, this lovely terrarium here is a student. Okay, and if we think about what cognitive overload is, it occurs when the capacity of the working memory is exceeded. Now, we know for dyslexic learners, this is a serious issue. And we need to think, is the thing that we are adding to this situation, this new assistive technology that we brought along, going to add to the load, the cognitive load of this young person, or is it going to support? So let's just think about what we've got here. So I want you to imagine you're going to plant up a terrarium, and the terrarium's beautiful. You've got a lovely young person, they're the terrarium, but they've already come with some soil in the bottom. Okay, so let's call that the intrinsic load. That's going to represent the innate difficulty of a task for that learner. Okay, so you've got no choice of the soil. Okay, it's already in there. That's what you've got to work with. So for a dyslexic learner, that might already be they're feeling a high level of challenge in your classroom or at home already. Okay, that's just the innate difficulty. Okay, the extraneous load. All right, so this terrarium is full of air. Okay, lovely growing media for this plant to thrive in. But I want you to think about the air being the classroom, and perhaps it being the background noise, or it might be the poor font that's been provided on a piece of paper, or it might be the small print, or the glossy paper, or the bright lights, back to the BDA style guide. Okay, so think about all of those things that add to that challenge of learning. Now, the germane load, these are the plants that you want to put into the terrarium. I know I'm stretching this metaphor along a bit, but I'm thinking about my reader pen here again and implementing this, and it's what I want my student to be using as they do their learning. So if I introduce this technology, and already we're in an overcrowded situation. So supposing I introduce this piece of assistive technology while we are trying to do a piece of learning. So let me give you an example. We're going to do this mock exam paper. I thought it would be really helpful for you to have an exam reader pen to help you with this mock exam paper. So all you do is put the pen down, you whiz it along, and it will read back to you. Okay, off we go. Now, my brain has exploded if I'm a young person, because not only am I trying to do something for a test or for a learning situation, I've also got to get to grips with a piece of technology at the same time. And therefore, I'm in a state of cognitive overload. Okay, and we don't want to be there, because when you've got an overloaded brain, there is no room for anything else to occur. The cognitive capacity has been spent. Now, if you are an enthusiastic adopter, please be sure to make time to go at the pace of the learner and provide an opportunity for them to use this new piece of technology, be that something on the computer, be that a tool, whatever it may be, but give them time and make it a low stress situation. Okay. What we're trying to do all the time in classrooms with our young people who may feel very wobbly about themselves as learners is we want to reduce stigma. We need to think about reframing our language, and we need to talk about the challenge that is being overcome. So I mentioned this earlier, I'm going to reinforce this now. If I am saying you need to go to the computer and you probably need to use predictive text to support you with that writing task, because I know that you find that challenging. I've already told the student that they find that task challenging. And although I might have given them a really good option, assistive technology option to use, I may just have undermined that person's confidence or made them feel visible in the classroom as someone who is not capable of doing the same things as their peers. So let's always think about, how do we reduce stigma? Can I reframe my language to be really positive and talk about the challenge that's being overcome? Okay, so we're going to be creating a story today. Now, I've got a few of you who are going to be writing that story. I've got a few of you who are going to be using dictation device for this story. I've got a few of you who might be using a microphone for this story. Everyone can use anything that they want to in this classroom to help them to do this task today. And any way that this task is done is the right way. Okay, so you see how I've tried to reframe this conversation to be really supportive as much as it can be. Okay, so as you are going along with your students, you want to increase the opportunities. So that means building your knowledge and having awareness of what's available. And I'll come on to what's available a little bit further along. Now, what about you? What about your role? Adopting modelling as a normal way of teaching. So we've got two things here that I think go together. There is a normal way of working, and that's important when you come to your access arrangements that Liz was talking about a little bit earlier today. It has to be a normal way of working, embedded in the way that you approach your learning, for you to be able to take that particular assistive tech or accommodation into that exam. Normal way of working. Then there's normal way of teaching. And I would really advocate that for you to be an effective communicator of what assistive technologies are available, you need to embed the use of assistive technology as your normal way of teaching. You do it as early as you can, because if you can introduce all of these techs or start with an assistive tech toolbox when young people are perhaps in year 7 or in those much earlier phases, and do that universally so that all young people feel that everything is available to them, it means that you have normalised the assistive technology approach for that whole group of young people. Because what we know is that if you start early, normalise it, the likelihood is that they will keep using the tools, and it will help them to develop their independence, help them to feel confident that when they go into a particular environment, they can take out their reader pen, they can take out whatever tool, open their laptop, use the tools that they need. They're going to have that confidence to do that because it's been instilled, it's been there right from very early stages of their learning. So that pathway to independence is ensuring that everybody around you is accepting. In this room, we all use various things that will help support us to do our learning. We are an accessibility friendly classroom. We're an accessibility friendly school. And that's it. And hopefully, as we all reinforce this message, by the time you're a teenager and you're feeling a bit resistant, you've actually embedded what it is that you need to use in order to be successful. And hopefully everybody around you has embedded that it's okay for everybody to use what it is they need to be successful. That's the pathway to independence, so that you are in control of your learning pathway. Okay, so a reader pen, brilliant if you introduce it at an early phase. The white reader pen has got dictionary support and all sorts of great things in it. Same with using a laptop. Get these things started early, and then they become a non-access arrangement for examinations and for testing, which is great because you don't necessarily have to have your dyslexia diagnosis. You don't necessarily have to have those bits of paper that formalise what you need. You can get some fantastic support in your hand to be able to use during those exams. And Liz did a terrific job earlier of talking through what those supports were. As part of your normal way of teaching, share your thoughts with your team. Make sure that your whole school is talking about assistive technology, because this is the world that our young people are going into. It's a technologically facilitated world, and they are going to be using various tools and techs their whole lives. And we need to help them understand this, that it's normal, and we just minimize any discussions about anything negative. It's just the tool for the job. Okay. I'm going to spend a wee amount of time now just telling you about the NASEN mini guide, which I'm super excited about. So I think I started talking about this project a couple of years ago with Miles Pilling, and we were at, I think it might have been the NASEN show in about 2019, and we had a conversation where we said, wouldn't it be great if there was an assistive technology mini guide from NASEN for Senkos to give them a pathway through how to provide support, how to work out what you would do within a graduated response, how you would do implementation, because implementation is really such a key thing. And we started to look, and at that time there was very, very little resource online about the kind of assistive technologies that were available. Well, since 2019, things have changed. We have been working from home, we've been using our screens, we've been developing our knowledge of how to use our remote learning platforms. We have been focusing on how we use interactive tools remotely. And this has just revolutionised, it's made us speed up. So we have all gone on this journey together where we've had to change our approach. And along that couple of years, in the background, there have been some organisations that have conducted some pilots around learning with assistive technology. So if you've not heard of Microlink, it was a small study that was done with a group of schools, and it's going to continue with another bunch of schools. I think this next tranche of research is going to happen soon. And what Microlink have done is they've gone to lots of assistive technology suppliers and they've said, please could you upload to our webpage a series of 5-minute supporting information bites, videos about how to use your technology, about how to use your learning platform. So Scanning Pens was invited to upload some resources. So I got all my videos together, organised myself to make sure I knew what I was going to be providing for people. And then I had a bit of an explore like you do. And I found that there was a fantastic amount of information from all sorts of AT companies, like, for example, Text Help, like, for example, the guys who produce the mind mapping software. And they have all got these bite-sized videos, which is so great because when you are trying to absorb new information, bite-size is the way to go. It really is. And so I now know that there is this resource that's available. So great, Microlink. And the project, I think, is going to extend and become more available. Nason really stepped up in the last couple of years and now have got an absolutely brilliant AT matrix sitting in the back of their web pages so that you can go in and you can access that information very quickly, and you can start to look across from learning need to suggested assistive technology. Now this is great. We've also got companies that have been there for a long time. So for example, Beezer, Butter. Butter's fabulous. So Miles Pilling, I think, is on the board for Butter and does an awful lot of supporting work. If you've not come across these really great organisations, they can help you gain a really good understanding of what's actually available, because the big problem, and I worked this out from starting to write this mini guide, is just that people don't have an awareness of the assistive technologies that are actually available. They don't know what's out there. Now, the guide isn't written for Senkos, it's written for any professional. You don't have to be a teacher. You could be someone working within adult education. The information in this new AT mini guide that Miles and I have been writing will support anybody. And it looks at the challenges that are linked to implementation and how you manage this business of ongoing support. So any of you who have been involved in the graduated response, where you put together an intervention and you're on a journey of assess, plan, do, review, and back around we go, will know the thinking. It's got to be joined up. You have to keep looking at every stage as you go along to make sure that what you've provided for that student to help them is appropriate and that it's still working, and that it is still extending their knowledge and their confidence. So that's what that bit of applying for an EHCP is really about. It's about, can we find a tool that works? Can we increase this young person's independence? Can we fast track them to where we need to get them to go by providing them with a tool or a technology? And the ongoing bit is that you are, as a learner, going to develop and your needs are going to change over time. And because of that, you're going to need to be in another cycle of review. So we've had to think about what these challenges are, and we've mapped them out in this wonderful little booklet. We've also looked at something called the SET approach and have started to unpick that. And if you've not come across the SET approach, it's an absolutely brilliantly clear methodology of how you provide the tech support for the individual. Now, when I was a Senko and I had my budget and I'd be thinking about a situation I had to resolve, I will tell you now, I'd probably already allocated a certain amount of money to a solution before I'd even thought about the student or the environment. You've got to go through a process before you provide the technology in order to solve the challenge that you're looking at. But I think what happens, particularly since the Education Endowment Foundation developed their toolbox, is that you look at the tools on there and you go, oh, reading gain of 9 months if I choose this one. And we're in danger of falling into a trap where we haven't necessarily gone through the process of really evaluating that individual's needs. And what we've done is we've looked at the potential learning gain and we've gone, let's try that. And I've done it myself. I've looked at a really great intervention. I think it was High Five. Great intervention, did the training, loved it. I'm going to do High Five with all of these kids. And then you suddenly realise that it just wasn't appropriate for several of those learners because I've made some assumptions. So we're back to the barriers here. The barriers are your preconceptions and perhaps not putting the student at the front because maybe you're prioritising other things like I've got to get some money spent, or I'm only allowed to spend it in this way, or I've met the rep for this and I understand that. So you have to think a little bit more widely. Okay. The next one that we are looking at in the mini guide is the scope to build that learning independence. And I've talked about it a lot today because that is the direction we are going in. Nobody in the future is going to have anybody being their reader for them or their scribe when they get into the workplace. It is not going to happen. The future is tech enabled, and having an insight into what might work for the needs is crucial. And in order to do that, we've given some examples of the appropriate assistive technologies for those needs. So at the back of this brilliant guide, there's a matrix and it goes through very common learning difficulties. And if we think about what is in the SEN Code of Practice, it's divided up by those 4 areas of need, and then it identifies very useful assistive technologies to explore and provides a little bit of a case study and a pathway for each. I'm not saying it gives all the information, it's a very small guide, but it is full of links and supports. So when is this going to be available? It's going to be available from, fingers crossed, January 2023, and I will be doing a lot more speaking about how we are going to be able to share this more widely and what is inside it next year. So I'm kind of running up towards the end of my talk here, Katrina, and what I will do is say that I'm Julia from Scanning Pens, and you can contact me if you would like to. My email address is there. I've written a couple of documents that are really useful if you happen to be someone who is implementing a scanning pen in school. There is something called the Helping Hands Detective Agency. You can use it as a learning guide for young people. We're making a new one for maths for worded questions to support our dyslexic learners who really struggle with those maths worded problems too. So there are some great resources to support teachers which are free. You just download them, which is really good to know. The thing that I like about Scanning Pens is that all the implementation that you need to make that work in your classroom sits behind the product. Okay, and I think I would say to you, if you are looking at implementing a new assistive technology, look at what those assistive technology companies have got sitting behind to help you to do that business of implementation. Because if they're good, they will have the stuff that will support the teachers, they'll have the training, they'll have the resources, and it will back you so that you can do a good job of supporting your young people to be able to use those technologies. And I think I've reached the point of questions, Katrina, if that's okay.
Well, thank you so much, and I would urge people to link in with Julia, because she puts loads of really interesting articles and things on her LinkedIn page as well. So do link in with her on LinkedIn. Yeah, always fascinating. And thank you so much. They're really good, lovely ideas there. So thank you. I think. Well, Sally asked about Trug's freebies, and Aaron
which
put on a link.
I put
Yes.
a link there, so you can get a sample pack, which is basically it's stage 7 sent to you for free. So it's just stage 7. So basically it's just one stage, and if you search on iOS for Trug's word searches, you'll find stage one, box 1, which is stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, is now a word search available on as an app. So that's like you the only the people watching the recording and watching this will know that that's there. So that's good. So Kim's got a question. Julia, sorry. How does the try before you buy scheme work for scanning pens?
Oh, thank you, Kim. Brilliant question. I'm really glad you asked it. You're a pal. Okay, so for scanning pens, anyone can get a 30-day free trial if you are a teacher. Okay, so if you work in an educational establishment, you go through your school and you ask to take a 30-day free trial, and you give your information about your school and they will send it to you. And it's as simple as that. So if you had a student in mind who you thought that the pen would work well for, you've got 30 days to try it. It comes with an implementation guide which will take you through the process, because we're good and we're worth it and we know what we're doing, so we can scaffold all of that support that teachers need to get where they need to go and learn how to use the technology and share it. If you're a parent, there's also a parent trial, and if you pop onto YouTube and you just pop in scanning pens, you'll find me endlessly talking about scanning pens. You'll also find all of the chaps, all of the business development guys, providing lots of support and training. There's also lots of webinars on the scanning pens page, and so if you take a trial, you can hop onto that scanning pens page, sign up for an on-demand webinar, right? And you just go there and then you can watch the implementation, support and help. So it's really straightforward. Just get in touch with Scanning Pens and they'll help you.
Someone's asking, they work for the borough as a specialist teacher. Can they still do the 30 days free trial?
Yes. And if you want to get in touch with me, please do. I'll tell you about a little project I've been doing in Birmingham. So just recently we had 3 trials with young people with reader pens in Birmingham and had some brilliant progress. And so now I'm working with the guys at Birmingham Local Authority SEND team, and we're trying to create a joint document to support dyslexia across Birmingham with a literacy toolbox approach and with scanning pens. So we're looking at high-low readers and using scanning pens with high-low readers, because we thought, hey, this would be a really great way to build and boost confidence. You've got the enjoyment of being able to read a book that is at your level, so the low, and the high interest, so where you want it to be when you're a slightly older learner, because you don't want to be doing Biff, Chip and Kipper when you're yeah, no, absolutely
Horrible doing that.
There's a time for it, but then that time passes, right? And the high-low reader. So I'm looking at this pilot with high-low readers. So, and then you just get that extra boost from the scanning pen. So we're doing some research at the moment to see how does pairing these 2 things together accelerate self-esteem and make young people actually want to be readers. So we're doing that in Birmingham, and I'm really hoping if things go well, and poised to go well at the moment, that we'll be able to be into more schools and deliver a lot more training through our demo schools program, which is training that I'm delivering that's CPD accredited.
That does look amazing.
I'm getting there. We've just finished the CPD accreditation for prison service. So we've got a blue pen called the Reader Pen Secure. and that can go into prisons and be used, and we're having it used in cell, because we know, unfortunately, that a lot of our incarcerated individuals do have huge difficulties with their literacy. So getting read pen secure in cell and getting everybody trained has been a huge priority for us. We know that people will make wonderful progress and be able to get back into the world of work when they come out, because they'll have the skills and the confidence to use the tool they need afterwards as well.
But for life as well, just to be able to read a newspaper or something, you know, just to, yes, amazing. Oh, so that was Wendy who asked that, but and she also says she's a specialist teacher who goes into school once a week. She's tried to promote voice activated software, and the response from teachers is that they'll never learn to write if we do this. Do you do insets in school to be my second voice?
Yes, it's called Demo Schools. And in a similar way that our program is available via our webpage, people can sign up and get their accredited support. But Wendy, get in touch if you'd like to do something with me, or you want to know what I'm up to. Reach out and we'll have a chat. I'd love to share with you.
I'm going to make the comment on that one, because that just annoys me, and that is that I know we all have to learn to write. I accept that, but how many of us write on a daily basis?
Not now, no.
No, it's cheating thing, isn't it? It's cheating thing.
It is. I just with my specialist teacher head on. It is part of your neurological development to learn to write.
I'll accept that. Yeah, I accept that.
Then
yeah. I accept that. But if a child like you've seen my handwriting, Katrina.
I don't think I ever have.
Well, okay. Well, okay. You haven't seen my handwriting. It's good, because you won't be able to read it. So my handwriting, like I did when I was 24. I learnt cursive handwrite, and I cursive handwrite 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And that's my wedding anniversary, Valentine's Day. No, 4 times a year. My wedding anniversary, Valentine's Day, Lucy's birthday, and Christmas. Yeah. Because that's it. That's things. It's like that's the only time I write cursively, and that's thing. I like the idea of writing, but I just talk everything. I can dictate everything. And I can type.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And we can build those skills. I'm just thinking about, does it have to be writing? And possibly not. As long as we are building those skills, those fine motor skills and sewing. We used to teach sewing at primary schools for a jolly good reason. And threading. Well,
we, at my school we used to teach. At my school, we used to teach knitting to everyone.
Good.
Yeah, and the thing what it was is that that even though that I'm dyspraxic and I can't coordinate, I can knit left-handed. Well, I could then, and I used to have to go in and like when the parent that did the knitting class, who couldn't teach anyone left-handed because she was right-handed, used to go, who can I get? Oh, Aaron can do it because he knows how to do it. So I remember doing that. So I that's the thing. Don't know if I could do it now.
So this business of it's cheating, I wonder how many people worry about that, or worry that they're not doing what they should be as a teacher if they go to an assistive technology to support. But for some young people, providing that assistive technology, I think, could be the difference between their engagement and total disengagement.
And I think it's also down to having that the confidence to understand that the young people know it's not cheating. So I'm going to use my daughter. My daughter has a flexi table in her bag, a math manipulative, and she won't get out of school because she thinks it's cheating. I'm like, well, why is it cheating? It's like, I use a calculator.
Yeah, I've come across that before as well. Yes.
Yeah. So that's it. So it's all it's all.
Someone is saying, is wearing glasses cheating? Are cataract operations cheating? No. So
and that's exactly the point. Right? Yeah. This is a piece of assistive technology that has changed loads of people's lives, and that's the thing. So I think it's what an amazing day we've had, Katrina.
Yes, it's been really good.
It's good. Like cognitive overload is definitely the word I'm going to use for me. But it's been good to see so many people, and of course, been really good that we've had everyone in the UK, and it's been, touch wood, it's been brilliant for the technology. So I will get the videos done hopefully within a week. We have got
Excellent.
Dyslexia Awareness Week next week, and I am slightly busy. So hopefully by the end of that week, beginning of the following week, I will get the recordings to Katrina so she can share them with everyone.
And I'm actually doing a webinar for Aaron next week.
Yeah, next Tuesday night.
Next Tuesday night.
Which is a free webinar done by Katrina on the same group, so scndgroup.co.uk, called Beyond Barriers, isn't it?
Breaking down barriers.
Breaking down barriers. Close.
Yes.
Close. I know it began with a B. I did.
Yeah.
I know that. I think So no, do join that. And what I can say is just to kind of just be a little bit like you said to me to take people, because I didn't tell everyone earlier. Dyslexia Show will be launching next week and it will take place the 25th and the 24th and 25th of March at the NEC in Birmingham, and both Julia and Katrina will be there. That's it. So that'd be good. And Donna as well. And then also next week I will be delivering some free Microsoft training courses on Tuesday and Thursday in the afternoon at 4 p.m. There'll be free sessions, so they will take place. They'll be announced on Monday. And there's also something else that I can't announce now, but if you're living in Birmingham, if you live in Birmingham, and I can't remember where the other place is, or Manchester, I think it is, Saturday and Sunday, you need to go and visit your local curry store, and that's all I can say.
Can I do a shout out?
Go for it.
Shouting out.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll do my shout for Succeed with Dyslexia, because I am a Succeed with Dyslexia ambassador.
Yes.
And we do have some learning festivals coming up. There is one in Australia. You don't have to be Australian to go to it, but there are some fabulous Australian professionals talking about dyslexia, and that's a free to go to festival, which is lovely. Via the Succeed with Dyslexia website, there is also a bit of a global Succeed with Dyslexia event in November on 9th. Again, sign up via Succeed with Dyslexia, and there is also a workplace dyslexia festival going on, but Succeed with Dyslexia are just absolutely full on support all the way through October and into November for dyslexia awareness. If you are a teacher and you would like to twinkle, and I know we all have a nice twinkle, you will find that I have written a dyslexia assembly, and there is a no pens activity that you can download from Succeed with Dyslexia and use in your classroom, and that is from Twinkle. So lots of resources. Please do go read for October.
Oh, fantastic. I don't know if Donna's still there.
I don't know. No, Donna's not. No, she's not.
No, but then hopefully if you want any information about Succeed with Dyslexia, just email and I'll pass it on to Donna. But thank you very much for all your kind comments, and thank you all the speakers today. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
It's been an amazing day. Thank you, Katrina, for setting it up. Like I said, we'll get the recording to you as soon as we can, and I will now end the session for everyone. So thank you everyone for listening. Take care. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks, Katrina.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you, Julia.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.